We're moving on to the topic of probability distributions, and we'll start by a just quick thought experiment just to get what this is about. Imagine all the different things that can happen. What is the probability that one of these things happen? And the obvious answer is 100%. So out of all the things that can happen, it is certain that one of them will happen. Now this is really what probability distributions are all about, and we can illustrate that with an example with throwing dice. Now this is not a cubic die, this is what we call a tetrahedral die with 4 faces, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now when we throw a die like this, we could think in terms of what could happen when we throw it. And the result of our die throw we could call X, because it can vary. So one result could be that we get a 1, or a 2, or a 3, or a 4. And we can assign probabilities to each of these outcomes. So the probability that, and I'm going to draw a bit of larger X this time. The probability that the big X is going to have the value X. So we could write that as the probability that X equals 1, and the probability that X equals 2, and the probability that X equals 3, and the probability that X equals 4. And we could also write the value of these probabilities. And since this is a fair die, it should be equal chance for either one of them. And we know that the total probability has to be 1. So the probability of 1 is 1 in 4, yeah, or 0.25. And 0.25 to get a 2, and 0.25 to get a 3, and 0.25 to get a 4. Now we can also place these probabilities in a bar chart like this, where you have the values on the y-axis. Let's put that to 0.25, 0.50, and 0.75. So the bar for the probability that X equals 1 on this die is 0.25. So we let that go up to 0.25. And the probability that X equals 2 is also 0.25. The probability that X equals 3 is 0.25. And the probability that X equals 4 is 0.25. Now, if we stacked these probabilities on top of each other, like this, that's going to be 1. Or we could just add all these probabilities together, and we would also get 1.